Hi, I'm David Dowling, and today I'll be talking with Dance Plays commissioned artists Emily Ames and Rae Luebbert on their piece Alongside a Queer Double Portrait. To help follow along, Emily will be slightly panned to the left and Rae to the right. It's subtle, but fortunately, human ears are pretty good at this whole binaural thing. Thanks for joining us. This is Dancing in the District.
I'm Emily Ames, pronouns are she and her, and I'm a DC dancer and choreographer and collaborator. I also am an arts administrator as my day job. It's been really great working with Rae on this process, and it's great to have such a long period of time, about 5 years, where we have had time to sort of work on this and then step away and do other projects and have those projects feed into the work that we're doing, have a lot of time to research, to see art, and have a lot of time for these things to develop. Also, just sort of shift the work as the artistic and political landscape has shifted as well.
My name is Rae Luebbert. My pronouns are she and they, and I am an artist, choreographer, dance educator, arts administrator, and academic advisor. Emily and I have been co-creating this work together, doing many of the roles from dancing, choreographing, directing, at times projection design, and program design, which has been a joy to work with Emily in that way.
That was perfect. Thank you so much. So, Emily, you have a history of championing activism by way of dance, and in Alongside a Queer Double Portrait, you seek to address the expansiveness, wonder, and radical nature of queer identity. Would you consider the show itself to be a form of activism? Is there a goal to educate among the awareness?
Yeah, I would definitely consider it activism. I think all art, has a political bend, and I think it's quite radical, especially right now when queer art is being defunded, is being deplatformed, that having a show about queerness presented is quite radical. I don't think we're looking to take anyone on a lecture journey here, but we don't want to feel like you're back in class. But we do a lot of references to queer visual artists and queer artists who have come before and queer artists who are contemporary now. And so we do have some resources and some moments in the show that to help you connect those dots if you're not familiar with those artists. But also you can just watch the show and not know anything about those artists. It's anything on that spectrum. You'll catch things if you don't know any of these artists going into the show, and you'll catch things if you do. Making the show has been such an exercise in community, particularly queer community. We've tried to work with queer collaborators whenever possible, just having endless support, people coming to our process showings and giving us feedback, people showing up for us and letting us borrow lights, or helping me spray paint some props. It's really been a labor of love. And this work to us, I think, really celebrates community and queer friendship. And we hope to bring the audience into that with us. We've tried to really curate the night and curate the audience experience so that they do feel that sense of community and they are part of a happening on stage. Yeah, so I think it is all tied up in politics. It's all tied up in activism and imagining the possibilities of what the world could be and what we have the power to execute and to do, and to the ways that we're able to be there for each other. So yeah, it's been really fulfilling and hard work, but really beautiful to make the show. And we hope that people feel that effort and feel that care.
Rae, in literature, there exists a popular term called world building, the act of establishing the details of where you are and what surrounds you and what helps better immerse the reader. And I saw a lot of literal world building in the Salt Lake City, a queer double portrait. Without revealing too much of what we might see, can you give us an idea of the world we'll be stepping into in the new release choreographer showcase version?
Absolutely. Yes, I think world building has been a huge part of our process. I feel very grateful that we've been able to work on this for 5 years, because it's meant we can work very intensively and then take a break which means when we return, we can see new things and have a new perspective. But what that means is that we've really crafted a world that is quite intentional. Anytime we try to introduce an element, whether that is a phrase or a prop or a way of moving through something, we try to bring it back. And so that's kind of maybe a challenge for the audience if they want to look for those things that return. And so we've created these rules where we can't just bring something in and then never come back to it. Everything is sort of a part of a larger world that exists together.
In literary terms, that's called Chekhov's gun.
We actually use that phrase a lot, but we'll substitute gun for something else. So we'll be like Chekhov's candy, like it has to come back. You know what I mean? Or like Chekhov's light bulb. And that's sort of become our shorthand of like, we got to bring it back somehow. Or like, okay, but like Chekhov's light bulb, when does this come back?
That's very good. Quick follow-up question. So this new release version, this is a shorter version?
This is, I think, a more efficient version. Our work in Salt Lake City, it was our first time doing it with a big audience. And so there were some like audience interaction moments where we were sort of not equipped for how long they would take. And now that we've done it once, we understand sort of like what needs to happen to make it more efficient. There are going to be small, changes and tweaks just because there are different qualities of the venues that we're going to be at. So, the way that we sort of execute some of the audience interaction and the audience sort of like communication doesn't make sense in moving from Salt Lake City to DC just because of the layout of the theater. So there are just some little tweaks, some little things that we realized like, oh, this could be more efficient or more effective if we do it XYZ. So it will be a slightly different show. I think the top line things, the big moments, everything will be pretty consistent. It'll just be a little tighter, ideally.
I like that. Emily, in 2017, you spoke with the Clarice on your U Moves undergraduate dance concert in collaboration with Christopher Wong. You said, I really try to look at how do you do space and how to frame what's happening on stage. How do you focus on a solo or duet while still having everyone present in that moment? Now, there are a few things happening in Alongside that I think the audience will want to simultaneously intake. So again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I was looking at you, I was looking at Ray and props and lights, a musician, even at times the audience. So is focus on a certain aspect a priority of this show? And a follow-up question, is there anything you hope the audience really pays attention to? It doesn't have to be super literal.
Wow, that's a deep cut, David. I haven't thought about that interview in a long time. I mean, yeah, I think I stand by that comment. Yeah, definitely blast from the past. But yeah, I think something that we offer in this work is like a lot of things to look at if you would like. I think there's a lot of options. You can sort of choose what you want to attend to, I think. We do have moments where we do sort of draw focus to a particular prop or moment or person. And I think we try to sort of use all those tools in the toolboxes that we have as dancers and makers and also producers, strategic lighting, strategic sort of stillness. I think, I'm not really bothered by whatever people want to look at. Like, I think there are moments that also might challenge some audience members in terms of like duration and stillness. And so like, if you get bored, that's totally fine. This is also partly where like the visual art component comes in of like looking at a work of art where maybe it is visual. There's like, as in it is a static piece of art, and sort of allowing people to take time with that and really look at the details or, let their mind wander if they're bored. And like all of that is okay and part of art making. Like I've definitely looked at some art and have let my mind wander, and like that's just part of it. You know what I mean? So people can sort of choose their own adventure a little bit. There's a big reveal, if we want to tease that. There was a good reaction in Salt Lake City. So I hope there's also a reaction in DC just because we put a lot of time into it and we really love it and we think it's really fun. But, it's okay if people don't like it too. That's all right.
I agree with what Emily said. We're playing with lots of elements from projection to dance to our musician, Amelia Deal, really is enveloped in as a performer and co-creator in the process. And so we're excited for what interests the audience and what they pull from it, whether that's they're seeing like the joy of queer friendship or they're excited about these artistic references. And we'll be offering each audience member a small zine that we've created with some of these references if people are really curious about the background of the artist. But also, that's okay if you're not and you just want to experience the elements in the moment.
Great. Thank you so much. I really like that term, queer friendship. Do you have a specific definition of that?
I mean, I think Ray, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we are using that term quite literally in that we are both queer and we are friends. But I do think in any sort of friendship where you're both sort of coming from a particular background or a particular life experience, I think there is like sort of a shared understanding and a shared empathy there in the sense of like you're both have experienced maybe some of the same hardships or the same joys or the same like moments in self-realization. I'll say that like I definitely feel like I talk to Ray a lot about sort of queerness just because Ray is so fucking smart. And so I like really value their opinion and their take on the world and identity. And so I think leaning on Ray has been important for me in this process in art making, but also just in life. And so I think that's sort of what we're alluding to, at least on my end, for queer friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. Emily is also so incredibly smart, and I love leaning on you too. I also think I am really drawn to the intimacy of friendship and how that is not something that I was taught and maybe felt shame for. But in this piece, and also with my friends who are queer, there is this intimacy of sharing vulnerable things, maybe sharing touch that's totally platonic, or just sharing these really deep moments that we've been taught, at least how I grew up, to keep in private settings versus sharing more communally.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I feel like a very straight or cis upbringing that a lot of us have, myself included, is very much these acts are reserved for people in these relationships. You know, you don't really cross over that unless you've graduated to some sort of title together. So yeah, I'm glad we're kind of getting rid of these norms and the bad word I like to say, traditions. And thank you for sharing that. I really liked hearing that. Okay, Ray. In the rehearsals, you gladly exclaimed, and I quote, "I'm not opposed to looking like a fool." Now, you were talking about a specific act in the show, which I'm not going to spoil, but you can all attend the show and find out. But in general, I took that to mean I'm not afraid to be me. So how much of the show is driven in that and rooted in that empowerment of showing us who Ray is?
That's a really thoughtful question. Yeah, I think it's really special to do a show that is so explicitly about queerness, which is a huge part of who I am. And even though I'm like very out in many parts of my life, where I teach is in a pretty conservative suburb of Utah. And so I do not share my queerness publicly. So that's one aspect of that. I think that the way Emily and I have built this piece is allowing ourselves to think really big, really extreme, to laugh and think of the funniest option or the most joyful option. So it sometimes means getting rid of the filters of what feels like a professional option or the feasible option, which means sometimes we are committing to a very extreme thing, which you'll see in the show. Lots of layers of getting to embrace myself in my identity, myself as an artist. It's felt very honest as both like a working environment and as the final piece of something that represents Emily and I's friendship, who I am in this moment, and what we care about.
Yeah, I think that's also reflective of the rehearsal process and our working relationship is that there are no bad ideas. You can say the thing where like oftentimes I'll like go to Ray and I'll be like, this might be a terrible idea, but like, what if we do this? And then Ray will riff off of that and it sort of like becomes something that could work. Yeah, I think there's something like so joyful about like not being afraid to look a little silly.
Oh, that's great. Emily, in the turn-based movement, maybe think of friendship and how we go through life becoming influenced and taught by the company we keep. You really already explained your friendship very well, I think. Is there an instance in the show that really kind of gives us an example, like shows us that?
That's a good question. Not to like do a cop out answer, but I do think it really is like the full show is like we have to be very attuned to each other. We are very much like on stage performing the entire 50 minutes. And so much of it is like Ray and I either as a unit or like in reference to each other, or we are attending to things to help the other person. So I think it's just like an awareness. I think as we talked about like community care, we are taking care of each other on stage. It also is a team effort in the sense we haven't really talked about this yet, but Amelia, who is Ray's partner, is our musician and has composed like a beautiful score and work composition for the show. And so she is also very much like a presence and someone who we are looking to and interacting with. She is also sort of part of this world and has a lot of power. She is like sort of staying pretty stationary, but she is like driving a lot of the movement and the order of events. I feel like I'm seeing, where you're like galaxy brain, that meme or whatever. Like I feel that during the show.
I'm curious if this performance will have any kind of future life in Nuri. And can you tell us what is Love Dance More?
Oh, yes. Love Dance More is a small dance nonprofit based in Salt Lake City that is intended to really work independent dance makers, which is great. And then Nori, which you reference, is a screen dance festival that I run as a program of Love Dance More. It's an annual event that presents dance films. And I had not yet imagined this work as solely a dance film because it has always felt as both. However, that could be a really exciting future adventure for this. Another dream that Emily and I have talked about is possibly bringing this piece into art museums because we reference so many of these queer visual portrait artists, and we're interested in queering spaces and perhaps performing this in a gallery where we can be embodied in a different space or reach different community members. And so we do hope that this has a future production.
Yeah, watching the SLC version, I definitely felt like there were vignettes, and I was like, this could easily be a dance film. You kind of talked about your collaborators a bit, but I would love to hear a little more about that and any other collaborators.
Yeah, we have Amelia, who is the incredible musician, composer. She'll be playing live. And we also have Kit Aylesworth, who is our stage manager extraordinaire. All of our video was done by Hayden Turnbow in Salt Lake City. And we have a lot of prop support from Elizabeth Barton.
Wow. I mean, the list of people who have supported us as along the years is long. We've had showings in DC and Salt Lake. Blythe is also someone who's had such a huge role in this. Blythe filmed our initial footage, which won't be in the show, but was a huge part of the creative process back in February of 2022, and then has designed our program, which is quite unique and quite important to the show.
One of the founding pioneers of Dancing in the District. If I had not collaborated with Blythe on the very first Dancing in the District film, we wouldn't be talking today.
Yeah, Blythe really is the groundswell effort in and of themselves.
That was terrific. I would like to give you guys a chance to just say anything you want the people to hear.
I'll just give another shout out for our fellow new releases artists. They're really incredible. I'm so excited to see the works. It's going to be a really, really great show. It's great to be in community with all of these DC artists, and have it be at Dance Place feels really special because that's how Ray and I met back in 2018. Yeah, this just feels like incredibly special, like stars aligning. And I'm just really excited to be in community with these artists and producers and creators and makers and everything under the sun at Dance Place. So come to see new releases, not just for us, but for all of these incredible dancers that are going to be in the first half.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing show. I'm really excited to see the new releases work and excited to share the evening with these artists. There is a very special moment. We use a ladder, which shows up very early on in the show, so not a spoiler, but I was a production intern back in 2019. And so these ladders I've used to climb up and hang lights. And now we're going to be using one of those ladders again as a part of a prop in building this show in the space, which is very special.
Can I give a quick shout out to all of the Dance Place staff as well? Like everyone has been so wonderful and so excited about this work and so helpful. And it's just been incredible. So like I couldn't name names because it would be every single person in Dance Place. But yeah, Dance Place has just been incredible. And I'm so excited. Ray and I owe a big debt to Sarah Beth Oppenheim and Jane Raleigh as part of DC Dance Network. They've been really instrumental in helping us along with this process. This is the first time that we are making a full-length work and sort of like having this sort of producer hat on as well. And so having them to help with our contracts, help us with all of the sort of like behind the scenes, the things that you're not necessarily thinking about as an artist initially, having Jane and Sarah in our corner has been just incredible and like truly could not have done this process without them. This has been such like a community effort that I really like at every turn, I'm like, oh God, and they were so important.
It takes a village.
It really does.
And how can we get in touch with you guys? Where can we follow you guys?
I'm on Instagram at eb.ames, AMES. So yeah, I'll post about upcoming things there. I have a website in the works that I've really been procrastinating on, and I just need to do it. You know what I mean? I just need to sit down and do it. And I'll probably do that after the show. I don't think I'm going to have time before then.
I'm just going to hold you accountable now that you...
Yeah, exactly. Now that this is going out into the world, I hope that people come up to me and just say, so where's the website? That'll really get me going.
I am also on Instagram at Rae, R-A-E, Luebbert, Luebbert. So that's a great place to find me. And I'm also on email, and you can find me at luebbert.rae@gmail.com.
Well, thank you, Emily Ames and Rae Luebbert, alongside A Queer Double Portrait as part of new releases. Premieres Dance Place May 3rd and 4th. Thank you guys for dancing in the district.
Thank you so much, David.
Ooh, thank you so much.